All right, shalom, 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 peace. Welcome to another class edition of MOTC, Messengers of the Covenant. This is Brother Amath. I acquire first name. IQ is all the same. It's that time. It's that season, y'all. That's right. It is the time for Feast of Dedication, the true holy day for the so-called Blacks, Native Americans, and Hispanics. According to the biblical history and according to the archaeology, according to the prophecies, this is what we're supposed to be keeping. To hell with Christmas. I don't know how many times we have to say this until we're blue in the face or until Christ comes back. I guess we're going to have to keep repeating the narrative for our people to break the chains of these pagan customs, i.e., Christmas, Easter, all these other folly days that come along with the territory, Thanksgiving, New Year's Day, you name it, Veterans Day, Memorial's Day, 4th of July. I mean, the list goes on and on. You guys know. All of the above, all the federal holidays that you can't wait to get off of work. I mean, listen, our time is right now. This is the time that we're supposed to be keeping a not a high holy day, but a holy day, a memorial that is known as the Feast of Dedication, i.e., Hanukkah. Okay. The winter feast that we're supposed to be keeping is that, and that only. So, without further ado, we're going to get right into it. I want to cover some history with y'all. I want to cover some parallels because this history goes back, for those who don't know, this history goes back to the time of a family known as the Maccabees. Out of the bloodline of Aaron, the Levitical priesthood, who led a rebellion against the Greek overlords who were imposing Greek customs, ways, ideas, governmental policies, completely oppressing our people, burning our books, killing our babies, raping and slaughtering our women, defiling the temple. I mean, it was going down. And it took a family of men to stand up and say, enough is enough. We're not having it. Our livelihood, our history is on the line. Our bloodline, I mean, we're talking genocide. That was on the line. And these men stood up and said, no, we're not doing it. And matter of fact, we need to get back in more lockstep with our Father, the Heavenly Father, Yahweh, and resurrect the temple that was desecrated by the heathens, rededicate it so that we can worship him back in truth and in spirit. All right. Way more history, way more truth. And I'm going to give you, some real historical facts that this was real. Not like St. Nick sliding down your chimney, knowing if you're naughty or nice, eating the cookies and milk. You dig what I'm saying? Reading a list of your the list that you mailed to the North Pole, where a bunch of little elves and dwarfs is in there scrambling around trying to make your dreams come true. And Mrs. Claus is in there cooking up Lord knows what. That's all fallacy and false and BS. And then you wonder why, parents wonder why, the kids are coming up being lying, deceitful demons. Well, guess where they learned it from? Guess who started telling them the lies? Who started telling them that the tooth fairy is coming and going to leave you some money if you put a tooth underneath your pillow? Who started that? Who said that there's a fat white man coming down your chimney? Meanwhile, you're living in the projects and in the barrios with no chimney in apartments, telling them he's sliding down a chimney. What chimney? You're lying. Reindeer are flying. I mean, no, we got to get back to reality. All right. Let's stop the madness. Let's start off. We're going to get right to it. Let's stop the madness, man. We've got to start embracing more truth than we are lies. Okay. That's number one problem with our people. Let's start off with the classic John 8. We're going to open up to John 8:32. Okay. John 8:32. And ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free. Okay. So it's time to stop the lies. It's time to stop the fallacies. It's stop the time, all of the the scrambling around and telling yourself that you got it in your bank account and on your credit, and you really ain't got it to go out for this Christmas shopping right now. Recession is high. Who's out here trying to spend a gang of money to, get yourself indebted And a lot of these economic reports are saying people are still in debt from last year's Christmas spending, all based around lies, you know. And ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free. So this is for those who desire to be free. These are for those who are tired of being held in bondage to the lies and hypocrisies that has been given to us by the church, that's been given to us by the school systems, right? That's been given to us by our traditional family values. It's time to break those things, man. We're trying to be delivered about this place. Let's get back to their origins, because the Feast of Dedication is not a new concept that came up in 167, 164 BC when the Maccabees rededicated the temple. No. The first dedication of the temple came under Solomon. All right. So let's get that, because this is what inspired the Maccabees and the men of Israel to create an 8-day feast celebration coordinated around the rededication of the temple. All right. 2 Chronicles 7:1. Now, when Solomon had an end of praying, the fire came down from heaven and consumed the burnt offering and the sacrifices, and the glory of Yahweh filled the house. And the priests could not enter into the house of Yahweh because the glory of Yahweh had filled Yahweh's house. And when all the children of Israel saw how the fire came down and the glory of the Most High, Yahweh, came upon the house, they bowed themselves with their faces to the ground upon the pavement and worshiped and praised Yahweh, saying, "For he is good, for his mercy endureth forever." So you see what happened when after Solomon had the temple made, sacrifice was made, they saw the power of the Most High come down, fire from heaven, consume the righteous offerings. And all of Israel witnesses, and they seen the power of our Father, Abba Yahweh, right? And they all said, hey, we need to hit the pavement, face down, pray, and give all praise, honor, glory to him, because he is good and his mercy endureth forever. We lost sight of that. During the time of the Maccabees, our people decided to say, you know what? The hell with our traditions, the hell with our bloodline, the hell with our laws. Guess what? We're over here. We got to make the best of a bad situation. We're under captivity underneath these Greeks, man. We might as well go ahead on and join with them, become one with them, take on their names, identities, the language. We can go ahead on and start following after their gods. We completely lost ourselves. That's what's known as Hellenization. This is how Jews became quote unquote Gentiles. I'm sure everybody has been hearing about the multiple debates, between the Christians are just so hell bent, and the Christian apologists are so hell bent on black folks wanting to be Gentiles. We just can't even embrace the idea of us being a chosen people. We can't even embrace the idea of the Most High saying that we're special. We'd rather say, no, everybody's special. It's not just us. I mean, damn, can we have something of our own? Can't we just have some pride within ourselves without always having to bow down, cower down, and share with everybody else? I mean, that's the problem. You understand? You got over 100 inventions so-called Negroes made, man, that none of them can have the glory of saying there's patents on there. There's been generational wealth that's been lined up behind it. All of the inventions in the herbal and agricultural advancements that the Native Americans and Hispanics made, that's now been hijacked, and not been given any credit to our people. I mean, come on, man. I mean, we got to share everything we got to say. No, it ain't just us. We got to give it them. Well, it's all of us. We all are good. We're all special. We're all good. God's people. Come on. Let us have something to our own, man. The Most High said he's got a chosen people. There's no question that the Jews, the Israelites, are his people, chosen people forever. But we're too busy wanting to, break off a little something with everybody else. So when our people got Hellenized and turned Gentile, they turned their back on their history, the legacy, the culture, the spirit that was placed within them, and decided to adopt a foreign spirit within them and follow after Greek customs and ways. So that's something else we'll talk about, but we're going to move on, getting back to the original portion of dedication. All right. Verse 4. Then the king and all the people offered sacrifices before Yahweh. And King Solomon offered a sacrifice of 22,000 oxen. 22,000 oxen. Can you imagine? and 120,000 sheep. So the king and all the people dedicated the house of the Most High. Did you hear that? Dedicated the house of the Most High. Now, let's look at this word dedicate real quick. See if we can get it out the Hebrew. Let me get out the blue letter. Blue letter is a little bit better than that quick reference. We went first. No, Second Chronicles 7. Let me pull out this one point. And you see the word cannot. All right. But this is where you get the word Hanukkah, because if you get back into you see here, it means to dedicate, to inaugurate, right? Let me look at another one in H 2598. You got H 2596, H 2598 is where you get the word Hanukkah or Hanukkah. Okay, that's where you get the word Hanukkah from. So sometimes our people, you be thinking back, man, Hanukkah, that's white folks, man. The damn Jews, fake Jews. No, that's scriptural. Hanukkah. All right, initiation or a consecration or dedicating. See that? And that is what the word dedicate means. In the Hebrew is Hanukkah, or the English Hanukkah is what it means in the Hebrew. All right. So let's get on back and look at the type of offering that Solomon gave up, man. 22,000 oxen, 120,000 sheep. I mean, we when we celebrating Passover, we're getting 2 or 3 lambs, and it takes all day just to get those prepped, skinned, the cleaned, roasted, the whole nine. I mean, it is a task. I salute the Levites, man. I mean, these guys had to be master butchers, master swordsmen. You know what I'm saying? Like 120,000 sheep, man, that they had to prep and had to righteously offer them up. The fat had to be taken. I mean, they was doing their thing, man. Israel is a seriously special people. 120,000 sheep, man. Solomon said, that's on me. I got it. 22,000 oxen, no problem. That a sheep takes that long. For us laymen's, in terms of prepping for roasting or cooking, right? All day. You take two, 3 lambs all day. Imagine an ox. Yeah, serious stuff that our people was doing, man. But they was giving it up to the Most High. Verse 6. And the priests waited on their offices, the Levites also with the instruments of music of Yahweh, which David the king had made to praise the Most High Yahweh, because his mercy endureth forever. When David praised by their ministry, and the priests sounded trumpets before them, and all Israel stood. So, Israel, man, our dedication comes along with music. You're supposed to be having some music playing. You're supposed to be turning up, and we ain't talking about them old Catholic. Oh, no, we're not doing that, man. We're supposed to be jamming. We're supposed to really be in tune with understanding and knowing what we were able to do through the power of the Most High, and giving him back the glory that he deserves, because it's his mercy endures forever. And our people was proud that we was able to do that. Verse 7. Moreover, Solomon hollowed the middle of the court that was before the house of Yahweh, for there he offered burnt offerings and the fat of the peace offerings, because the brazen altar which Solomon had made was not able to receive the burnt offerings and the meat offerings, and the fat. Okay, so when Solomon created this, when he had the temple, had a massive dedication ceremony that was done, sacrifice that was done. The children of Israel was bringing up their sacrifices. Music was playing. You know, ministry was being taken. Taking place. Right, verse 8. And also at that also at that same time, Solomon kept the feast 7 days, and all Israel with him, a very great congregation from the entering in of Hamath unto the river of Egypt. So we're seeing how big and how expansive everybody within the kingdom was celebrating. So they said everybody kept the feast 7 days along with Solomon. Verse 9. And in the 8th day they made a solemn assembly, and they kept the dedication of the altar 7 days and the feast 7 days. So we see that the pattern that the Maccabees utilized was based upon the initiating, dedicating of the temple that Solomon did. 7-day feast, 7 days of feasting, and then the 8th day was a solemn assembly. And this is where they got it from. All right. So let's look at a couple more. Let's look at Nehemiah chapter 12, and let's read verse 27. And it says, and at the dedication of the wall of Jerusalem, they sought the Levites out of all their places to bring them to Jerusalem to keep the dedication with gladness, both with thanksgivings and with singing, with cymbals, psalteries, and with harps. You see that? So when the wall was being set up, everything we built in the name of Yahweh Ba'ashem Mashiach Yahushua, we was dedicating it to the Most High with gladness, thanksgivings. We ain't talking about the damn holiday. That's giving true thanks to the Most High, giving him the proper honor and glory that he deserves for blessing us with the protective wall, with us being able to have the temple to offer sacrifices, the altar. You understand what I'm saying? That's what we were doing, gladness. And it said with singing, cymbals, psalteries, with harps. This ain't the time for us to be having our heads down and stressing and worrying about everything going on in the world. Hey, look, take a break. That's why the Most High said, look, you're going to go through. I just talked about the last DSM. We're going to go through some problems. We're going to go through some issues. You're going to have some tribulation and some troubles. That comes along with this walk. I remember when I first came into the truth, I remember there was one brother. He was going through some hell, man. He was, I can't recall the whole issue, man. This was damn near 30 years ago. But brother was going through it, man. He was kind of looking for some sympathy and a shoulder to cry out, man. And I remember one of the brothers, one of the leadership had told him and said, man, welcome to Israel. Like, suck it up. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, you going through hell, but you officially now have been blessed to know that this is what comes along with the territory, man. So the Most High always gives us opportunity to unwind. As the old saying goes, let your hair down. You understand what I'm saying? So when we have these feasts, the Lord said that comes with singing, cymbals, psalteries, which are songs, and harps. All right. So that's how we was getting down. Let's go to Daniel. It's a glorious moment, man. Beautiful time that we have. Daniel 11, we're going to read 29, and we'll go down to 32. It says, and at the time appointed, he shall return and come toward the south, but it shall not be as the former, as the latter. Is this one I want? Let me see. I think this is it. Yeah. Because this goes into the prophecy regarding Antiochus, if I'm not mistaken. So I'll read verse 28. It says, then shall he return into his land with great riches, and his heart shall be against the holy covenant, and he shall do exploits and return to his own land. At the time appointed, he shall return and come toward the south, but it shall not be as the former or as the latter. For the ships of Shittim shall come against him. Therefore he shall be grieved and return and have indignation against the holy covenant. So shall he do. He shall even return and have intelligence with them that forsake the holy covenant. And arms shall stand on his part, and they shall pollute the sanctuary of strength, and shall take away the daily sacrifice, and they shall place the abomination that maketh desolate. And such as do wickedly against the covenant shall be corrupt by flatteries, but the people that do know their power shall be strong and do exploits. So this is the part where we're getting to understand the prophecy of our temple being destroyed and the exploits that was being done against our people, right? The wickedness that was being taking place. So this is what we're getting ready to get into, is the actual history behind this dedication. Okay. Now, I want to share this PowerPoint. Some of y'all have seen this PowerPoint before. I've added a little bit more to it. But there's a lot of history that I want to cover, and I want to get into the actual history of the scriptures. We're going to go kind of back and forth. All right. So we'll get it figured out. Give me 1 second, y'all. Salakia. All right, Salakia. I had to get my computer plugged in and make sure we didn't die out on some power. All right, so let's get to the PowerPoint, man. I want to share with y'all some things that we need to start looking at and cover. Okay. Let me share my screen. Actually, to stop sharing. Okay, there it goes. All right, so the Wars of the Maccabees and the Feast of Dedication. All right. This is what we're going to be covering, getting into a little bit of history, looking at some of the things that we need to examine when we're looking at what went on during the time of the dedication. All right. Let's move on to this. Now, there were two things that was going on at the time. I wanted to highlight two things. Dedication, which is what this is all about, Hanukkah, and Hellenization. There was a massive movement going on known as Hellenization. Many of our people know about this, that if you're in the truth and you've been around the history and the understanding of prophecy that the Israelites have been teaching, you'll learn and know about Hellenization. All right. But number one, it says dedication, the quality of being dedicated or committed to a task or purpose. See, this is what we also have to examine in the spirit about us dedicating ourselves to the Most High, dedicating ourselves to our families, dedicating ourselves to, to Christ. You understand what I'm saying? Like 2 Corinthians 13:5 says we got to examine ourselves, whether we be in the faith. This is a constant thing that we have to do as we walk in this truth. There's going to always be stumbling blocks. There's going to always be troubles. There's always going to be thoughts, ideas, pressures, temptations. Things are always going to be pulling you to the side. You might be getting overwhelmed with work. You might be getting overwhelmed with, outside family issues, whatever the case may be. Things are going to be trying to distract you and pull you away from continually being dedicated and committed to the Most High, committed to the truth, committed to the laws. See, sometimes you might find yourself getting a little weak, a little tired, whatever the case may be. And the Lord said, are you dedicated? Are you still committed to the task? Are you still locked in, serving your purpose? So, yeah, we can talk about the song, the dance, the turn ups and all that. But guess what? It all boils down to us, because guess who's the temple now? Guess where those sacrifices and the altars, all that is within you now, within me now, Second Corinthians, what is it? First Corinthians 3:16 says, "Know ye not that ye are the temple of the Most High?" So now in the spirit, we have no temple no longer. It's all on us to make sure that we're being presented as right sacrifices to be dedicated to the Most High, to make sure that we're staying dedicated. And if you fell off, if you're getting weak, if you're not focused, rededicate yourself. You understand what I'm saying? That's how the Most High built this thing up. That's why we talk about the rededication of the temple, because the temple had been destroyed a couple of times before we got to the point of the Maccabees. Now we're at the point where it's time to rededicate that temple. You know, actually, this was the second time. The first time was under Babylon. Then we was able to rededicate it. You know, reestablish it under the Persians and the Medes. Then we get into the time of the Greeks. They destroyed it and desecrated it. We got to rebuild back up. Then 70 AD, they take it out again. All right. But we also see evidence of Hellenization. Hellenization, or other British spelling is Hellenization, or Hellenism, is the adoption of Greek culture, religion, language, and identity by non-Greeks. You black folks is non-Greeks. You Hispanics, you non-Greeks. But guess what? Our people fully adopted into Greek culture, religion, language, and their identities, right? And that's what created the Gentiles within our nation. All right, let's move on. Now, we're going to read. Listen, before we go there, let's get into the history. Let's get to First Maccabees. First Maccabees chapter 1. Okay. Now it says, and it happened. After that, Alexander, son of Philip. Now the question is, what happened? We're talking about the prophecies now, because Daniel 8, Daniel 11, you know, these are all these particular chapters, Daniel 7, these particular chapters prophesied about the uprising, or the incoming rulership of the Greek nation under the so-called white man, the Edomites, right? Because if you know, the previous kingdoms that came before him, everybody before him was melanated. The Persians and the Medes, melanated. You understand what I'm saying? The children of Japheth, melanated. Babylonians, melanated. Assyrians, melanated. Now, this also is a key, because it says, and it happened. We're talking about what? Even Job 9:24, the earth being given into the hand of the wicked. This is when the so-called white man really came into power. So multiple prophecies happened. You understand? This is why it says, yeah, and it happened. After that, Alexander, son of Philip the Macedonian, that's key. We're going to come back to that. After that, Alexander, son of Philip the Macedonian, who came out of the land of Chedum, had smitten Darius, king of the Persians and Medes. So we're talking about this is Darius the third, and he reigned around 336 to 330 BC, right? Now Darius the third, king over the Persians and Medes, that he reigned in instead the first over Greece. Now you're saying, well, first over Greece? What are you talking about? I thought Alexander was a Greek. No, remember, look, it said his father was a Macedonian. So let's look at this map real quick, because what we're going to identify is a little more history, okay? So you have what was known as the Peloponnesian War from 431 to 404 BC. The Peloponnesian War, just trying to make it simple, after the Greeks, or not, let's what eventually turned into the Greeks, all right, conquered the Persians and the Medes. They established two districts, or two districts of rulership, right? One was Sparta and the other was Athens. They both had leagues. The Spartans was the Peloponnesian League, and the Athens, what was theirs? You know what? Why not just use the internet? I can't remember off the top of my head. You got the Peloponnesian League that was headed up by the Spartans, and then the Athenians they had their own. I'm gonna find it. Just slipped my mind, and I don't want to give y'all nothing. See, let's just read a little bit of this real quick, and then we'll see. All right, the Peloponnesian League, military coalition of Greek city-states led by Sparta, formed in the 6th century BC. The league policy, usually decisions on questions of war, peace, or alliance, was determined by federal Congress, summoned by the Spartans when they thought fit. Each member state had one vote. The league was a major force in Greek affairs, forming the nucleus of resistance to the Persian invasions and fighting against Athens in the Peloponnesian War. Spartan power declined after the defeat of Leuctra in the league, and the league disintegrated in 366 and 365. Now, why can't I find that other league? Oh, shoot. The Delian. I believe it was the Delian League. That was the The Delian League is a confederacy of ancient Greek states under the leadership of Athens. All right. So what you had was a division of power between the Greeks. Now remember, these are the initial people that was ruling Greek goes back to the Minoan people, which were the people of Japheth. Melanated people was ruling and living in all of these particular lands, right? Now, you got Athens had the Delian League, Sparta had the Peloponnesian League. And you can see here by the color code, this is Sparta and its allies are all in red. Athens and all its allies are in yellow. There was a division between the two, right? Athens had a strong naval army. Sparta had the ground forces. Athens started, building up their network with all of these other, neighboring city states and whatnot, and gaining major allies. So they started really, pushing power policies. Sparta didn't like that, and they felt like, oh, they're getting ready to try to take over and have a what do you call it? A dictatorship. Long story short, they went to war. So they go into war back and forth with each other, right? They had a 30-year peace treaty that lasted maybe like 6 years. They can continue going back and forth. Do some homework on the Peloponnesian Wars. You'll find out what I'm talking about, right? Now, during this time, but when it's all said and done, Sparta came out on top with some assistance from the Persians. They came out on top, right? Macedonia is up here. This is where Philip is coming from. Now, while we're talking about the Macedonians, let's look at a couple scriptures. Let's go to editions of Esther. I ain't gonna show it to me on here. Let me see if this one has it. Where's it Apocrypha at? I could have sworn I was able to get it up on this particular application. Why is it not? Let me see. It's my Apocrypha. So here's the Apocrypha. We're going to go to the editions of Esther. We're going to read 16 in verse. Let's start it. Let's start at verse. We'll start at verse. Damn, do. I kind of want to read the whole thing, but well, let's just read the whole thing. It's only 10 verses. No, I'm sorry, 13. We'll get through it. All right. So we've got the additions of Esther. This is the additional writings of Esther, going back to uh, the book of Esther in your normal the rest of the King James writings, right? Now we've got chapter. This is going to be chapter 16, but we're going to read the 10th verse. Um, this one's a little different. Hold on. You know what? Right. I don't know why that came up different. Okay. Nonetheless, we'll get over here. This is the right one. 16. Salaki for that. And we're just gonna read verse 10. All right. So remember, if we're going back to First Maccabees chapter 1, it says, and it happened after that Alexander, son of Philip, the Macedonian, who came out of the land of Chittim, had smitten Darius, king of the Persians and Medes, that he reigned in his stead the first over Greece. So before Greece became a complete one a unified unit, let's say, as a kingdom. Remember, they was divided before the Peloponnesian Wars. You had Sparta on one side, you had Athens on the other side, and they were going to war for complete domination. When it all fizzled out, Sparta was finally still, standing, but the Persians, because they were, they had been weakened, the Spartans had been weakened. The Persians came back in, got more power. Then we see the rise up of um Philip of Macedonia, who was an ally of Sparta, rise up against Darius the Third and took him out. All right, but let's look at why it said the Macedonian. Verse 10. For Ammon, a Macedonian, the son of Amminadab, being indeed a stranger from the Persian blood and far distant from our goodness, and as a stranger received of us. So we're talking about Ammon, which is Haman, in the scriptures, right? And we know about wicked Haman going all the way back to this whole situation with Esther. This is a whole other thing where we're seeing our people were facing genocide, destruction under the hands of the Persians and Medes. However, they had an Edomite working within the ranks named Haman, who put out a decree that he wanted all the Jews killed because Mordecai didn't bow down to him. Right? And most, that goes into the story of Purim. We'll talk about that in the near future, Lord willing. But if you haven't, celebrated, understood the history behind Purim. But to stay on topic now, here we're seeing Ammon is the same as this Haman, and he was acknowledged as being a Macedonian. So what we got to do is we got to put two and two together. For Ammon, a Macedonian, the son of Amminadab, being indeed a stranger from the Persian blood. So he wasn't Persian. And he's coming from this area up in here. Macedonian, Chittim. You understand? See, the quote unquote Greeks, or the original Greeks, they're battling down here. But Sparta had allies in different countries, different peoples. You understand what I'm saying? Like the Persians and the Medes, they wasn't the same as the children of Japheth or Esau and all of that, but they were making leagues and they were making business deals and they were making allyships. So Ammon is described as being a Macedonian. Let's go back. We're gonna pick it up. Now it says, and the king took his ring from his hand and gave it unto Haman, the son of Hammedatha, the Agagite, the Jews' enemy. So now we go back, find out about the Agagites. 1 Samuel 15. Another way. Let's read 7 and 8. Now it says, and Saul smote the Amalekites from Havilah unto thou comest to Shur, that is over against Egypt. And he took Agag. Remember, it said that Haman was a descendant of the Agagites or Agag, the king of the Amalekites, alive, and utterly destroyed all the people with the edge of the sword. Now, we see that Amalek, Agag, all descend from who? Genesis 36. And who are we talking about? The descendants of Esau, the so-called white man. And these are the generations of Esau, the father of the Edomites in Mount Seir. And who do we see down here? Duke Korah, Duke Gadam, and Duke Amalek. These are the dukes. They're coming out of a royal, what they would consider a royal line of rulership. These are appointed leaders within the Edomite kingdoms. That's what a duke is, right? So Amalek was a duke out of the seed of Esau. So this all boils down to showing and proving that Philip the Macedonian, or Philip the Edomite, because of his bloodline, he made league with the Spartans down with the Peloponnesian War. This is how Esau gets involved with Japheth and these peoples down here. And now we're seeing how Esau starts to shift in and gain control. So this is why when the scriptures say, and it happened, and him being the first over Greece, he was the first over a unified Greece. You understand? So remember, after the Persian and Mede initial battles that they went through, then you got them fighting each other. One's left, Sparta. They get weakened. The Persians, eventually take them out the picture. Philip of Macedonia comes through, and he takes over, beats the Persians and the Medes, right? After many a battle with the Persians and the Medes. And now he's the first over Greece as a unified kingdom. Hopefully that makes sense. Okay. Now let's get back over here, and we're going to read a little bit more from Maccabees. So this is, if you're wondering, like the earth being given into the hand of the wicked, how do we know it's a so-called white man? That's what you got to do. You got to track him down. So as a Macedonian, this is really just acknowledging him being an Edomite, right? Through his bloodline, him descending from Haman going back to the Agag, and Agag going back to Esau via Amalek, right? And this is before Amalek, got caught with the Khazars and everything else. But the bottom line is that the Macedonians were the Edomites that came in as allies to the melanated people of Sparta, and they end up taking over. And it happened, right? So, continuing on, it says, and it happened after that, Alexander, son of Philip, the Macedonian, who came out of the land of Chedum, had smitten Darius, king of the Persians and the Medes, that he reigned in his stead, the first over Greece. And he had made many wars and won many strongholds and slew the kings of the earth. So now we're seeing the domination of the Greeks coming into play, and them being able to substantiate a rulership and a dominion over all the earth. So this is where we get back to Job 9:24. You understand? Of the so-called white man ruling the earth. Now, continuing on, it says, it made many wars and won many strongholds and slew the kings of the earth, and went through the ends of the earth and took spoils of many nations, insomuch that the earth was quiet before him, whereupon he was exalted and his heart was lifted up. Quiet before him, meaning nobody rose up against him. He had complete domination. All right. And that's what that boiled down to. Now, continuing on, it says, and he gathered a mighty strong host and ruled over countries and nations and kings who became tributaries unto him. And after these things, he fell sick and perceived that he should die. So now we're seeing, quote unquote, Alexander getting ready to get put to death. Some say he had syphilis. Some say he got poisoned. You know, I'm of the opinion that he got the clap, or he got a sexually transmitted disease based upon the lifestyle of the Greeks and all of the orgies that they was doing and all of the god worship, the Dionysus and everything else that he involved himself in. That he didn't cause something. You know what I mean? So it said that he fell sick and perceived that he should die. Wherefore he called his servants, such as were honorable, and had been brought up with him from his youth, and parted his kingdom among them while he was yet alive. So in order to keep the power going, he said, you know what? I'm getting ready to die. My kingdom is parted up. I want it parted up amongst four of y'all. And technically, there was a fifth named Antigonus, but he lost in the Battle of Ipsos. Ipsos, I believe it is. Ipsos to Seleucid. All right, we'll look at that in a minute. But the four generals are the ones that Alexander appointed, right? We're talking about Lysimachus, Cassander, Ptolemy, and Seleucid. All four had their reign. We're going to cover them in a minute. It says, so Alexander reigned 12 years and then died, and his servants bare rule, everyone in his place. And after his death, they all put crowns upon themselves. So did their sons after them many years, and evils were multiplied in the earth. See what happens when the so-called white man gets control? Evils happen within the earth, right? And then they create a generational hegemony where they're passing down the crowns to their sons so that the evils continue. So let's move on. Let's look at this. Now we're seeing some of the battles that Alexander had to fight in order to gain world domination, in order to fulfill Daniel the 7th chapter, Daniel 8, Daniel 11, right? Now we're talking about one of the battles, the Battle of Issus in 332, which was Alexander against Darius III, right? Now you got the Battle of Granicus, that was in May of 334 BC. The Battle of Halicarnassus. And then we see the expansion of the kingdom of the Greeks under Alexander. All the green was under the rule of Alexander's empire. That's a massive amount of land. I mean, when we read about Esther in the first chapter, it says that why can't I remember the cast name off the top of my head? I'm drawing a blank. Shoot, why can't I remember his name? Man, my head is spinning. Hold on, let me just go there. Pardon my memory, y'all. Brother getting older. Ahasuerus. Good Lord, I couldn't pull it out. I couldn't get it, y'all. It's embarrassing. I step my game up. I need to get back on my ginkgo. Get back on my ginkgo. But yeah, Ahasuerus. Now notice it said he had 127 provinces. So the Greeks took all of that. His kingdom was all the way. Look, it says 100 from India unto Ethiopia. So Alexander took all of that and some. Okay. And matter of fact, Ahasuerus is also known as Xerxes the First in history. So, you see Ahasuerus, you see Xerxes, they're talking about the same person. So this is the expansion of the kingdom of the Greeks under Alexander, right? Now, he said, remember, this is supposed to be broken up into four parts. His four generals took over four different areas and ruled. Okay, this is just another map of the empire of Alexander under Alexander. Now you have his four generals: Seleucus, Ptolemy, Lysimachus, and Cassander. Now, those four took their portions and divided up the land. Now, just like it, this thing is tripping. Just like the Peloponnesian War, here we see that these generals were going to war with each other. That's one thing, man. The so-called white man is so hell-bent on power, man. He would go to war with himself just to determine who's going to be the sole ruler of what, right? So what they had was known as the War of the Diadochi. The wars of the Diadochi were the wars of these four generals. The fifth would have been including Antigonus. But Antigonus, again, he got taken out by Seleucid, and any of his territory was taken over by Seleucid. All right. So when we're looking at the areas of rule for them, Lysimachus, he ruled Thrace in Asia Minor. Cassander had Macedonia and Greece. Ptolemy, he had Egypt, Cyprus, Petra, Palestine, and Seleucid had Asia, Mesopotamia, and Israel. So he had Asia Minor, Mesopotamia, Israel. The wars of the Diadochi is where they were going. The four generals were going to war with each other. Okay. Because remember, they all put crowns upon themselves. It's like, I'm a king. No, I'm a king. You can't tell me what to do. I'm king. But they're kings where they ruled in their own districts. Right. Let's move on. See, here's the map of their rule. So you see Ptolemy, his rule, the areas in which he had control over, Egypt, Cyprus, Petra, Palestine. All of this was under Ptolemy in the green. Seleucid had the greatest amount of land and rulership. You see everything that he had from Asia Minor all the way to Mesopotamia, going all the way to India, Pakistan, Afghanistan, everything else, right? Lysimachus, he's up here. And you can see he's got Thrace, Asia Minor. Well, when I say Asia, I meant like Eastern Asia for Seleucid. Asia Minor would be under Lysimachus. And then you see Cassander over here holding down Macedonia and Greece. And they was going to war with each other, right? Now, continuing on, we see a little bit more of the expansion, another map of the territorial rule of the Greeks. Now, mind you, in this same area, you got blacks and remnants of Hispanics and the Native Americans in today's terms. You know, the Northern and Southern Kingdom, man, is still scattered all throughout these lands. You still have Jakes living over in these areas just based upon our time in captivity under the Persians and the Medes. We're still way over here. We're still over here in Judea and in Jerusalem. We're still in Alexandria. We're still up in Lower Egypt. We're still over in Greece. I mean, we're all over the place. And here we are being put in a situation that a new sheriff in town is coming, and his name is Alexander. As after he got put to death after 12 years, he's got him surrender reign to his four generals. All right. So we see the expansion of the kingdom of what he was dealing with. Let me get back over to Maccabees. And now we see here, he ruled 12 years and then he died. Verse 8, and his servants bear rule, everyone in his place. And after his death, they all put crowns upon themselves. So did their sons after them many years, and evils were multiplied in the earth. And there came out of them a wicked root. Now, they said that the earth was already wicked. It's already full of evil. Now you've got an individual that comes out rooted in wickedness. I mean, how evil could he have been? Named Antiochus. Some say Antiochus. Surnamed Epiphanes. That means power manifested or God manifested. This is where the mentality of the so-called white man comes into play. The God complex. He feels as though he's the ultimate power. He is omnipotent. On this earth, nobody's above him. And he's going to make it manifest. Son of Antiochus the king, who had been in hostage at Rome, and he reigned in the 137th year of the kingdom of the Greeks. In those days went there out of Israel wicked men who persuaded many, saying, let us go and make a covenant with the heathen that are round about us. For since we departed from them, we have had much sorrow. So here we're seeing men of influence within our nation are convincing our people, hey, you know what? We're fighting a losing cause here. Man, these Greeks, man, ain't no joke. We need to go ahead on and make a covenant with them. Let's just be like them, man. Let's just stop playing. Let's integrate, all of that stuff. Mirror that with what's going on here in America. They want integration. They want you to adopt the religious customs and the ways that they have, the folly days, the food, the sports, the whole nine. We just become more acclimated into now adopting the term African American, Hispanic American, like everything has to be attached to America. When you you see the border crisis going on. Everybody wants to be a part of America, man. But guess what? You're going to have to go get re-educated to get that green card. You got to make sure you learn all of the damn statutes of America. I don't know everything you got to learn to get that green card, but you damn sure going to have to learn the Pledge of Allegiance and probably some of the Constitution. I know you got to learn a whole lot of stuff, man, so that you can now become an adoptive citizen of America. Greeks were saying the same thing. You want a covenant? Okay, cool. You want to be like us? It said it gave them license, as we read on. It says, so this device pleased them well. Then certain of the people were so forward herein that they went to the king who gave them license to do after the ordinances of the heathen. They got their papers. You got that green card. You're official now. You're adoptive Greeks, heathens. But it all started with wicked men, man, persuading our people. Here's Antiochus Epiphanes. Let's read this. This is out the Jewish encyclopedia. In 168 BC, Antiochus IV Epiphanes set up an altar to Zeus in the temple at Jerusalem. This led to a Jewish uprising under the leadership of the priest Mattathias of Modin and his 5 sons, the most prominent of whom was Judas Maccabeus, from whom the movement took its name. After more than 2 decades of fighting, Judea achieved independence as a kingdom under Syrian rule. Its royal dynasty was known as the Hasmonean, after Hasmon, the grandfather of Mattathias. So this is a small little history regarding what led to the uprisings, the pushback against Antiochus Epiphanes, because it said, look, he set up an altar in the name of Zeus in Jerusalem. And you had a lot of our people going along with it. But let's read that out the scriptures. Let's start at verse 25. It says, therefore, there was, you know what, there's so much going on here. I don't want to. Let's start here. Verse 20. It says, and after that, Antiochus had smitten Egypt. He returned again in the 143rd year and went up against Israel and Jerusalem with great multitude. So, Antiochus was going at it with Ptolemy. They was fighting over, territory and whatnot. After he came back out of Egypt, now he's going up into Jerusalem. Because remember, what areas did Ptolemy have? If you read up a little bit further, you go into Daniel 11, Daniel 8, it tells you about the kings of the north and the south going to war with each other. Right now, Ptolemy, he had Egypt, Cyprus, Petra, Palestine. So here we're seeing this king Antiochus went down into Egypt, went to war with Ptolemy. These are some of the Diadochi wars. After he took down Egypt, he goes up into Jerusalem to conquer our people. It says, and he entered proudly into the sanctuary and took away the golden altar and the candlestick of light and all the vessels thereof, and the table of the showbread and the pouring vessels and the vials and the censers of gold and the veil and the crown and the golden ornaments that were before the temple, all which he pulled off. So that goes back to what we were reading earlier in Daniel 11. So he came in, desecrated the temple, took all the treasures, tore it up, right? Continued on. It says, and when he had taken all away, he went into his own land, having made a great massacre and spoken very proudly. Therefore, there was great mourning in Israel in every place there where they were, so that the princes and elders mourned, and the virgins and young men were made feeble, and the beauty of women was changed. Every bridegroom took up lamentation, and she that sat in the marriage chamber was in heaviness. The land also was moved for the inhabitants thereof, and all the house of Jacob was covered with confusion. See, I mean, our people was in complete mourning. We just got overran, overthrown, destroyed, humiliated. Our temple has been bound and destroyed. And then you got some Uncle Tom Coons talking about, yeah, that's great. You know, I'm glad I wasn't over there. I'm with the Greeks. That drew confusion because some were saying, we need to just go ahead on and join up with them, man. I ain't trying to die over this. I don't care about the temple. I don't care about our traditions and customs. I'm trying to live. I got a family. Now there's Jacob's covered with confusion. What do we do? Where is Yahweh when we need him? Continuing on. And after 2 years fully expired, the king sent his chief collector of tribute unto the cities of Judah, who came unto Jerusalem with a great multitude, and spake peaceable words unto them. Hey guys, how's it going? Yeah, it's unfortunate, you know, that we had to do this, but guess what, man? We're doing it out of love. You know, we want everybody to be one. You guys are just so strict about your laws, and you guys always like to separate. You don't want to do anything on a Saturn's day, and you know, we want everybody to come on and get along, man. We need to just be one people, right? We love you guys. He spake peaceable words unto them, but all was deceit. Hey, you know, I gotta come through and collect the tribute for the king. You know, I hate doing this. You know, I hate doing this, guys. But you know, job's a job. You know what it is. You know, but we're gonna make good use of the money, man. Matter of fact, we'll double back and we'll take care of the temple for you. Your temple tributes. We'll give you some things back so you can take care of the temple. This lies. It says, but when they had given him credence, he fell suddenly upon the city and smote it very sore and destroyed much people of Israel. So as soon as Israel, we go along to get along and say, okay, cool. Yeah, that's a good old white man over there, man. Everything's cool. Oh, guess what? Backstab, and much of our people got destroyed. As soon as we let our guard down, as soon as we start trusting, as soon as we start saying, hey, okay, I think we can make it. It'll be all right. Boom. Out of here. You know, it's similar to you know, for those that seen that Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, the last one, Caesar running around and the little kids trusting that Edomite girl, thinking that she was there to help free their people, man, and she was there to free her own people. Backstab them and killed, got all them apes killed. You know, that's the same scenario. Put the trust in the man, but they got their own agendas, man. They always are out for themselves. Continuing on, look. And when he had taken the spoils of the city, he set it on fire and pulled down the houses and the walls thereof on every side. But the women and the children they took captive and possessed the cattle. See that? Yeah, they want the women. They want the kids to grow up to be put into captivity. They want the women so they can bear seed and they can rape them and do whatever they want to do with them. This is a wicked time, man. Then built they the city of David with a great and strong wall, with mighty towers, and made it a stronghold for them. And they put therein a sinful nation, wicked men, and fortified themselves therein. Let's drop down. Read all of this on your own time. If you have not, you are doing yourself a disservice, man. You have to read this. Continuing down to verse 41. Moreover, so we see Israel is in disarray, confusion, cities is getting burned, temples being overthrown, women and children being taken captive, men getting killed. Everything is, all hell is breaking loose, right? Under this wicked root named Antiochus, white man, oppressing black people in Jerusalem. 41. Moreover, King Antiochus wrote to his whole kingdom that all should be one people. So, you're talking New World Order, one nation, one government, one language, one form of currency, one religion, so forth and so on. Yeah, we're going back here. Verse 42, and everyone should leave his laws. So all the heathen agreed according to the commandment of the king. Yeah, the heathen had no problem dropping their customs, man. In a minute, they're done. The Hamites, oh, we're with it. Elam, we're with it. Ishmael, okay, no problem, boss. And guess what? Verse 43, yea, many also the Israelites consented to his religion and sacrificed unto idols and profaned the Sabbath. See that? Look at this. Remember, it said wicked men came up out of Israel, convincing many to go after the ways of the Greeks. Now here you had a priest named Jason. Hellenistic, and you can read about Jason, you can read about these men, Menelaus. I'm not going to go there for time's sake, but if you're reading within the Maccabees, man, doing your reading, especially during dedication, you'll read about these men in Second Maccabees and First Maccabees, right? I believe in Second Maccabees, I think it's a chapter, I believe it's chapter 2, speaks about Jason and Menelaus, which we're going to read about in a minute. But no, Second Maccabees chapter 4. Read 4 down, read that whole chapter, man. Read the whole first two, the books of Maccabees, right? Not going to cheat yourselves if you haven't, but yeah, definitely. Because these are some of the wicked men that came up. Remember, it said, and there were some, let's look back. Yea, many also the Israelites consented to his religion and sacrificed unto idols and profaned the Sabbath. Yeah, like some coons, man, some wicked Uncle Toms. Look at this, Jason. Hellenistic Jewish high priest in Jerusalem under the Seleucid king Antiochus IV Epiphanes. By promising greater tribute to Antiochus, he obtained the high priesthood and scorning the traditional Jewish monotheism of the Pharisaic party. So what did he do? He said, you know what? I'll promise you more money, boss. We'll give you more tribute out of Jerusalem if you make me a high priest. You ordain me the high priest over these people, man. I'll make sure you get some more money in your pocket, and we'll go ahead and we'll start following some of your ways. I can turn them out. Trust me. Then you look at some of these, modern day Jasons and Menelaus, the TD fakes and cash flow dollars, and Bishop. What's the other cat's name, man? Noel Jones and all these guys, man. Kirk Franklin. I mean, these guys all got influence on our people. And don't give a damn about the truth of the Bible. Encouraging our people to break the laws of the Most High. Encouraging our people to keep these folly days. This is what what our people was dealing with. So continuing on, it says, and he obtained the high priesthood and scorning the traditional Jewish monotheism of the Pharisaic party, promoted Greek culture and religion throughout Judea and Palestine. Did you hear that? That's when we read about wicked men came out. All right. When Antiochus retired to Jerusalem after his expulsion from Egypt by the Romans and began a violent purge of all Judaic practices, Jason was displaced by Menelaus, another Hellenizing Jew, after an unsuccessful attempt to regain the high priesthood by capturing Jerusalem in circa 170 BCE. Jason was forced to flee to Asia Minor, right? So that's just a little background history regarding the high priest influence that was on our people. This is why we also have an understanding of how and why Hellenization was so powerful, is because it came from men that our people trusted. This is why they took it as, oh, well, if the high priests are doing it, if the high priest says it's okay, then we should be okay Hellenizing and adopting into these Greek customs and ways. So this is why it's so easy for our people to become Gentiles and follow after heathenistic ways, because it came from men of influence and trust. It wasn't like, oh, we just fell into it and just, hey, this is cool. I like how you guys get down over here. No, they were being led and guided into these ways all the way up until the time of Paul. That's why Paul was saying, when we're dealing with Colossians, like for instance, Colossians 2:16, he's telling them, let no man judge you in meat, drink, and holy day and Sabbath, because the Pharisees were telling them, no, you need sacrifice, this and the third. So the same influence that the Pharisees had during that time, they had during the times of the Maccabees, and our people were following whatever they were telling them to do. Many of our people. But then you had some rebels that backed up and said, man, them dudes is off and we ain't following them. To hell with them. Matter of fact, and they get to battling over the priesthood within themselves, causing all kind of disorder and confusion within the nation, man. It turned into a seditious act amongst our nation, you know. And here's his successor, Menelaus, also known as Onias. He's a high priest from 171 to about 161 BC, the successor of Jason, the brother of Onias III. The sources are divided as to his origin. According to 2nd Maccabees, the 4th chapter, 23rd verse, he belonged to the tribe of Benjamin and was the brother of the Simeon who had denounced Onias III to Antiochus IV and revealed to the Syrians the existence of the treasure of the temple. According to Josephus in Antiquities, probably chapter 12, book 5, Menelaus was the brother of Onias III and Jason, and of Jason. Of these two conflicting statements, the evidence is in favor of the former, first because it is unlikely that two brothers would be called by the same name, and secondly because the popular opposition to Menelaus in favor of Jason, though both belong to the Hellenistic party, is more easily explained if the successor of Jason did not belong to the priestly family. It is possible that Josephus confounded Simeon confounded Simeon, the brother of Menelaus, with Simeon, the father of Onias and Jason. So it's just kind of showing you some of the histories that Josephus has may not coincide with the biblical narrative. So we always stick with what the Bible says, right? So you read 2nd Maccabees chapter 4, it tells you that Menelaus was Simon's brother. And I believe he came out of the tribe of Benjamin, which had no place within the priesthood. But what does that matter when you're bribing and coercing your ways into positions of power? You understand? So these are the type of men that was sitting back encouraging this behavior. Verse 43, back to 1st Maccabees. Yea, many also the Israelites consented to his religion and sacrifice unto idols and profane the Sabbath. For the king had sent letters by messengers unto Jerusalem and the cities of Judah that they should follow the strange laws of the land and forbid burnt offerings and sacrifice and drink offerings in the temple, and that they should profane the Sabbaths and festival days and pollute the sanctuary and holy people. They said, man, forget off those laws, man. You're going to break the Sabbath. Your festival days, your feast days, you ain't having it. I mean, that's why it's so hard now. Every time you come into the truth, you start learning about your feast days, the Sabbaths, and you got to get these days off. You can't work. And then you start bringing it to your boss, and your boss is saying, what? You ain't never had that problem before. Well, now all of a sudden you're religious. Oh, now you need Saturdays. Oh, no, we can't do that. Oh, you need this day off. What do you mean you need these 2 days off? You're fasting this day? What kind of weird stuff? You know what? You're just not available to work anymore. We're going to have to let you go. You're fighting with HR. You're delivering them letters. Hey, we need to prove. Do you got a rabbi we can talk to verify all of this? And this is all the stuff that was going on that we deal with in today's terms. Why? Because the ancestral thought of the so-called white man is profane them. Make sure that they're not able to keep their holy days holy. Make sure they're not being able to celebrate their festival days. This is why we have to fight via faith, utilizing the laws of the land. I mean, look, the so-called GMO Jew, he's going to get damn sure get his days off. The Arab, he's going to get his days off. He's getting off Ramadan if he needs it. He's getting off whatever holy days they're trying to, commit themselves to. They're going to fight for it. That's why we have to, too. You think about what our people was doing. Remember, Paul said we haven't resisted unto blood. Our ancestors back then, the Maccabees, they was dying over this. And we talking about, oh, I might get fired. You know what? Most High knows my heart. I got faith. I'm going to go ahead and not keep these holy days. I'm gonna profane the Sabbath. No, man, we got to fight a little harder, to maintain the traditional ways of our ancestors, man, in our people, and not just give up and just say, man, I can't do it. I'll be all right. Most High knows me. No. Put up a fight, man. Put up a fight. You know, the laws of the land give you opportunity to, that's why the Most High put us in this place, because freedom of religion, freedom to assemble, freedom of speech, all of those things are protected. But if we don't try to push the envelope with some of these jobs and corporations and tell them, no, I'm not going to profane these days. I need to keep these holy. Well, I can't pay you if you're taking it. Fine, don't pay me, but just give me my day off. The Most High will take care of that lack of money that day. That's where the faith comes in. I can't worry about it if I ain't got paid that day. So be it. But I need the day off, man. And the Most High will look down on that man and bless you. Trust me, I've been there. Plenty of people got testimonies. I've written dozens and dozens and dozens of letters for brothers and sisters, man, so they can keep their holy days and deliver it to jobs and tell them, hey, no, this is how we're getting down. Right? So that we can avoid these things that was happening back in the day. Verse 47, it says, they set up altars and groves and chapels of idols and sacrifice swine's flesh and unclean beasts, that they should also leave their children uncircumcised and make their souls abominable with all manner of uncleanness and profanation, to the end they might forget the law and change all the ordinances. That's the goal. This is why you see the churches and everything set up to make you forget the laws and change all the ordinances. No, you're not doing Hanukkah no more, or the Feast of Dedication. You're doing Christmas now. How about that? Change the ordinances. Forget the law. Works to a T. Wouldn't you say? Let's look at this. Hellenistic tendencies. Although during the 3 years of this pontificate, Jason had given many proofs of his attachment to the Hellenistic party by building a gymnasium in Jerusalem, by introducing many Greek customs. Gymnasiums, they were exercising naked in there. This is why you see Planet Fitness, 24-hour fitness, and all these other gyms with saunas and locker rooms with white men running around butt naked and Jake looking and following out. I mean, this is what's going on, man. You're looking at the WWE and the wrestling that goes on, man. These guys wearing elbow pads and knee pads and bikini draws, oiled up, wrestling with each other. I mean, this is the hypnosis that I was under as a kid, thinking, oh, this is cool, man. These guys are buff and they wrestling, doing crazy moves and storylines behind it. It's soap opera for men. Like, not knowing the customary ways that came from that, man, is all based upon damn sodomite, base tendencies, Greek culture with naked wrestlings and everything else. And this is what we're seeing going on. So Jason, he's promoting naked gymnasium wrestling going on, man. Creating athletes to compete for the Greeks and all that other stuff. So he says he promoted building a gymnasium in Jerusalem, and by introducing many Greek customs, the zealous Hellenists of the stamp of the Tobiates plotted his overthrow, suspecting him of partiality to traditional Judaism. At their head stood Menelaus, who professed the utmost contempt for the religion of his fathers and was ready to commit any crime in order to gratify his ambition. You see that? I mean, these two dudes was wicked as hell. And you talking about high priests, they're fighting over who's going to lead the people, who's going to have influence over the masses. And both had the ideologies of let's be Hellenized and follow after the ways of the Greeks. Menelaus' first act was to seize the sacred vessels in the temple stores in order to meet the pecuniary obligations he had incurred. This sacrilegious act, which was regarded even by the Greeks as heinous, because Menelaus said, look, I got access to the treasures of the temple, this, that, and the third, sacred vessels, man. I'll give them to you. Just give me the high priesthood. Even the Greeks was looking like, this dude is wicked as hell, selling out his own people, but hey, we'll take it. They said even the Greeks looked at his actions as heinous. Came to the ears of the deposed high priest Onias III, who publicly accused Menelaus of robbing the temple. The latter, afraid of the consequences of his accusation, induced the king's lieutenant Andronicus, who had his share of the plunder, to get rid of Onias before a formal complaint had been lodged with the king. Accordingly, Onias was decoyed from the sanctuary of that at Daphne, in which he had sought refuge, and murdered. Yeah, this is where you get that history in Second Maccabees, the fourth chapter. Third, fourth chapter, you read all of that, you're going to get some more history about this. Marie drop down here. It says, this accusation caused the execution of several Jews who, although they proved beyond any doubt that Menelaus and Lysimachus had desecrated the temple, were sentenced to death. Let's read over here. Conflict with Jason. Antiochus regarded this proceeding as an affront upon his majesty, and having been compelled by the Romans to leave Egypt, he marched against Jerusalem, massacred the inhabitants, plundered the temple. In this, he is said to have been assisted by Menelaus. Did you see that? An old coon Uncle Tom, man, said, I'll give you the treasures and the sacred vessels of the temple. Just let me be the head high priest, boss, and I'll get these niggas in line. And I'm gonna lead the way so you can take down the temple and just have to be destroyed. It's our own people selling this out. According to Second Maccabees, it was Menelaus who persuaded Antiochus to Hellenize the Jewish worship and thereby brought about the uprising of the Judeans under the guidance of the Maccabees. We was in a lot of trouble, man. I'm not gonna read out this book. This is just some more history regarding this. But when we get to this point, before we get to the revolt and the wars, let's jump over here to chapter 2. So we see what was going on, right? Now, getting to this point, let me see how we're looking on time. All right, let me pick it up. It says, in those days arose Mattathias, the son of John, the son of Simeon, a priest of the sons of Joarib from Jerusalem, and dwelt in Modin. He had 5 sons: Johanan, called Caddis, Simon, called Thasi, Judas, who was called Maccabeus, Eleazar, called Avaron, and Jonathan, whose surname was Aphis. All right. So here's the 5 sons, led by their father, Mattathias. They're getting ready to create an army of rebellion against these Greeks, right? You're seeing all the way down. If we drop down, one of the king's officers came up. He wanted to get tribute, and he wanted to also cause, he wanted Mattathias to offer a sacrifice of swine and try to get everybody to follow him. He was like, man, I'm not doing that. And then some Uncle Tom popped up and said, I'll do it. I'll do it. Now, let's see here. Man, for time's sake, I don't want to read too much on here, but I do encourage everybody to read First Maccabees chapter 2. I want to get right to the point of, you know what? I'm gonna just drop down. Let's read verse 18. It says, now therefore, come thou first and fulfill the king's commandment. I'm gonna jump down and read verse 15. In the meanwhile, the king's officers, such as compelled the people to revolt, came into the city of Modin to make them sacrifice. And when many of Israel came unto them, Mattathias also and his sons came together. So one of the high officers of Antiochus is coming through. He wants the daily sacrifice. He wants the sacrifice to be made. He pulls up on Israel in Modin and says, it's time for the sacrifice. Who's going to make the sacrifice? We need to sacrifice the swine's flesh on the altar. So Mattathias and his sons, they come over. The crowd is all there. They coming over there saying, what the hell is going on? Verse 17. Then answered the king's officers and said to Mattathias on this wise, thou art a ruler and honorable and a great man in this city, and strengthened with sons and brethren. Now therefore, come thou first and fulfill the king's commandment, like as all the heathen have done. Yea, and the men of Judah also, and such as remain in Jerusalem. So he's saying, look, man, you guys over here in Modin, Judah and Jerusalem is already on board. They've already been making their sacrifices. So homeland, home base, they're already down. You guys need to go ahead on and get it done. You're a great honorable man in this city, Mattathias. What better way to kick off the sacrifices being done but by you committing yourselves and offering up this swine? How about that? Come on. Now he says, what? So shalt thou and thy house be in the number of the king's friends, and thou and thy children shall be honored with silver and gold and many rewards. See that they were bribing them up. Look, you and your sons, we'll set you on high, man. We'll take care of you. Silver, gold, many rewards, man. Favor of the king. You're gonna be one of his friends. All you got to do is make the sacrifice, man. Make the people follow after you. We'll make you rich. Sell out. Verse 19. Then Mattathias answered and spake with a loud voice, though all the nations that are under the king's dominion obey him and fall away, everyone from the religion of their fathers, and give consent to his commandments, yet will I and my sons and my brethren walk in the covenant of our fathers. That's like Joshua when he said, after me and my house, we're going to serve the Lord. Whether you serve Baal or you serve the Most High, make a choice. But me and my house, we serve Yahweh. Mattathias remembered that and took the same stance. He said, yet will I and my sons and my brethren walk in the covenant of our fathers. See that? Let's get that real quick. I want to get right to it. It's in Joshua. I want to say 24. Yeah, here we go. 24:14 says, now therefore fear Yahweh and serve him in sincerity and in truth, and put away the gods which your fathers served on the other side of the flood and in Egypt, and serve ye Yahweh. And if it seem evil unto you to serve Yahweh, choose you this day whom ye will serve, whether the gods which your fathers served that were on the other side of the flood, or the gods of the Amorites, in whose land ye dwell. But as for me and my house, we will serve Yahweh. See that? Choice was made. Mattathias remembered this. And he said, nah, we're getting down like our forefathers did. See that? Verse 20. Yet will I and my sons and my brethren walk in the covenant of our fathers. The Most High forbid that we should forsake the law and the ordinances. We will not hearken to the king's words to go from our religion, either on the right hand or on the left. He says, no negotiating. We're staying steadfast and straightforward with this. We're keeping the law, statutes, and commandments, whether you like it or not, and tell the king F off. 23. Now, when he had left speaking these words, there came one of the Jews in the sight of all to sacrifice on the altar, which was at Modin, according to the king's commandment. Well, here come a coon. Here come Uncle Tom. Here come, here come a, yellow belly slithering Jake crawling on his, belly and knuckles to come sacrifice. It says, which thing, when Mattathias saw, he was inflamed with zeal, and his reins trembled, neither could he forbear to show his anger according to judgment. Wherefore he ran and slew him upon the altar. Before he was even able to make that sacrifice, man, Mattathias slew and killed that man. Before he even initiated the thought that it would be okay to do that. Had to kill his own, man. Before he committed himself to evil and the rest of our people. That's how deep it was. All right. So throughout this time, you read chapter 3, wars get to jumping off. Chapter 4, wars jumping off. And these are many of the battles that they had. See all these areas. These were all maps of the various Maccabean revolt wars. So it wasn't just one time, man. Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah. It's like 10 or 11 wars that they had to go through. From battling, taking down Nicanor, Apollonius, all of these people, man, our people had to set up shop. And remind you, these wasn't, trained warriors, man. You have farmers, you have brothers that was accountants, whatever the case may be. But they all said, you know what, one thing we do have is zeal for the Lord, faith in Yahweh, and we're going to go to war, man. The one thing they knew was based on the Psalms. Psalms, what is it, 144 and 1? They knew this much. Blessed be the Most High Yahweh, my strength, which teaches my hands to war, my fingers to fight. My goodness and my fortress, my high tower and my deliverance, my shield, and he in whom I trust, who subdueth my people under me. See, they knew that the Most High was going to make them hands go to war, and they sure did. The Most High did bless them men with powerful hands of war that took out these seasoned Greek warriors. Right. Here's various details of the wars. You have the battle with Apollonius, and the battle with Saron. This is Judas Maccabeus defeats two smaller Seleucid detachments. The battle of Amasis. The Judas Maccabeus performed a daring night march to make a surprise attack on the Seleucid camp while the Seleucid forces are split. The battle of Beth Zor. Judas Maccabeus defeats the army of Lysias and captures Jerusalem soon after. Lysias relents and repels Antiochus IV's anti-Jew decrees. The battle of Beth Zachariah, the Seleucids defeat the Maccabees. Eleazar Avaron, another of Mattathias' sons, is killed in battle by a war elephant. That's in what chapter is that in Maccabees? Because it tells you that they came out with elephants too. That was in chapter 6, First Maccabees 6. You see that that war. Yeah, chapter 8 as well. All right, just give me our highlighted points for time's sake. So I'm trying to keep this within a couple of hours, but it's still a lot to look at. But I'm gonna try to push through it. All right. So now, mind you, they're going at it with the Seleucids, going at it with under Antiochus. Number of different wars jumping off. So Eleazar, he gets put to death under the battle of Beth Zachariah. The battle of Adasa, Judas defeats the forces of Nicanor after killing him early in the battle. This is where we get the memorial of the destruction of Nicanor, also as a memorial feast that we keep. The battle of Elasa, Judas dies in battle against the army of Bacchides. He is succeeded by his brother Jonathan Apis, and eventually their other brother Simon Thassi as the leader of the rebellion. You know, through Simon, you get John Hyrcanus. That's when we get in the uprising of the Hasmonean dynasty, when the Maccabean family under the Hasmonean dynasty started a dynastic rule. All right. It says the Seleucids reestablished control of the cities for 8 years, but eventually make deals with the Maccabees and appoint their leaders as official Seleucid governors and generals in a vassal-like status before eventual independence. Okay. Now here's another little thing right here. Matter of fact, before we get there, so we see that the temple was destroyed. Let's get to the reason why we're all here. First Maccabees chapter 4. And let's read. I just want to get kind of to the point because there's another portion of this I just want to kind of balance out with. We're going to get to the point now. Here we go. First Maccabees chapter 4. We're going to drop down. We're going to read verse. We'll drop down to 47. So at this point, Judas Maccabeus has recaptured the temple. He set up choice men to guard the temple, to rededicate it. They tore down everything that was old. They rebuilt up a whole new temple, whole new altar, right? Now, this is what we're going to continue on reading at this point. Verse 47. Then they took whole stones according to the law and built a new altar according to the former, and made up the sanctuary and the things that were within the temple and hollowed the courts. They made also new holy vessels, and into the temple they brought the candlestick because they didn't want nothing that had already been tampered with, defiled. Remember, swine's flesh was getting put up on there. Man, they had weeds growing all over the place. I mean, it was completely disgusting. So it wasn't like, hey, let's clean it off. We'll clean it up, man. Make it. No, Judas Maccabeus said, no, everything got to be destroyed. We need to rebuild this thing from scratch. Okay. It says, they made also new holy vessels, and into the temple they brought the candlestick and the altar of burnt offerings and of incense and a table. And upon the altar they burned incense, and the lamps that were upon the candlestick they lighted, that they might give light in the temple. So this is why you see many of us uh, utilizing the menorahs, lighting our menorahs during the times of dedication. So if you don't have that, that's traditional. Go make sure you go scramble around, grab you some, get you some candles, and burn them. The fake, the GMO Jews, they be lighting one candle a day, and they got nine candlesticks all off, talking about uh, the candlestick burned all 9 days and 9 days. What? Unbelievable. Um, but nonetheless, having a menorah and burning, the candles and lighting your candles during this time is tradition. This is part of the initiation of seeing the light within the temple shining, and the light is within us as well, right? Uh, Reflecting of the commandments. This is what we're into. So verse 50 says, and upon the altar they burned incense, and the lamps that were upon the candlestick they lighted, that they might give light in the temple. Furthermore, they set the loaves upon the table and spread out the veils, and finished all the works which they had begun to make. Now on the 25th day of the 9th month, which is called the month Caslu. So this is the month Caslu, the 9th month, 25th day of the month, which is quote unquote December 24th, Christmas Eve. Ooh. It's ironic too, man, that our feast day falls on the same day as the damn pagan customs of Christmas Eve and quote unquote Christmas, you know. But nonetheless, as for me and my house, we keep in dedication. Hopefully, y'all are all doing the same thing. Spread the word to your family and friends and tell them we're doing the wrong thing, y'all. We're supposed to be keeping this holy day, right? 25th day of the 9th month, which is called the month Caslu, in the 148th year, they rose up betimes in the morning and offered sacrifice according to the law upon the new altar of burnt offerings which they had made. Look at what time and what day the heathen had profaned it. Even in that was it dedicated with songs and citherns and harps and cymbals. Remember that going back to Solomon? This how we supposed to be doing it. Then all the people fell upon their faces, worshiping and praising the God of heaven, who had given them good success. Remember that back in Second Chronicles 7, when they saw the fire of the Most High come down and consume the sacrifice, and it said that the children of Israel went face down on the pavement and gave all praise, honor, and glory to the Most High. Same thing. This is where they got the prototypical way of dedicating the temple they got from Solomon, right? So as we continue on, it says, and so they kept the dedication of the altar 8 days and offered burnt offerings with gladness and sacrificed the sacrifice of deliverance and praise. They decked also the forefront of the temple with crowns of gold and shields, and the gates of the chambers they renewed and hanged doors upon them. Thus was there great gladness among the people, for that the reproach of the heathen was gone, right? So now if we're seeing these things, one thing I do want to show too, remember, even with Solomon, he said that the 8th day was basically he said that it was is a can I think of the term, a solemn day. You know, historically, scripturally, solemn days were considered Sabbaths, solemn feast days. These are days of isolation, right? But just to see how do we keep these days? First day and the last day, we're to keep it in the same respect as you would the feast of tabernacles. So look at this, Second Maccabees chapter 1, verse 18. It says, therefore, whereas we are now proposed to keep the purification of the temple upon the 25th day of the month Caslu, we thought it necessary to certify you thereof, that ye also might keep it as the Feast of Tabernacles. So when you go back to Leviticus 23, we say, well, how do we keep it as the Feast of Tabernacles? Not necessarily in the same manners of going out and dwelling in booths, but the ordinances of the sacrifices, the Sabbath order, that's what they were talking about. So in the structure of tabernacles, the first day and the eighth day were Sabbaths. This is how they said dedication was to be kept. They said they thought that it was necessary that we do it that way, right? So it says, as the Feast of Tabernacles and of the fire, which was given us when Nemus offered sacrifice. After that, he had builded the temple and the altar. So see, this is why it's important, because remember, we're getting back into keeping the ordinances as they were. The heathen wanted us to profane. The heathen wanted us not to keep it as we were supposed to. So this is why we got to go out and we got to fight with our boss and tell them, look, I can't work that day. I need this off. Fortunately, through the Spirit of the Most High, these days fall on their own folly days. So most people should be getting that day off anyway. You dig what I'm saying? So if you worked on the 24th, the 25th goes in is part of the first day of dedication. You're supposed to have that off anyway for so-called Christmas. So you ain't got to fight to get that off. The Most High was like, man, let's see, that's a Sabbath. You got it this time. And I believe it falls the same way on the eighth day, getting into quote unquote New Year's. So the Most High kind of covered us on that. The only day you probably need off is the new moon. But other than that, that's how it played out. All praise, honor, and glory to the Most High. Let's get back over here to 1 Maccabees 4. It says, and so they kept the dedication of the altar 8 days and offered burnt offerings with gladness and sacrifice of deliverance and praise. They decked also the forefront of the temple with crowns of gold, and with shields, and the gates of the chambers they renewed, and hanged doors upon them. Thus was there very great gladness among the people, for that the reproach of the heathen was put away. So you can leave off the heathen, leave off your job, boss, anybody else, leave them out the way when it's in this 8-day feast mode. Okay. Verse 59. Moreover, Judas and his brethren with the whole congregation of Israel ordained that the days of the dedication of the altar should be kept in their season. What season? What season? And for those that desire to be Christ-like and all of that, hey, guess what? He kept it. Yahushua kept it. John 10:22. And it was at Jerusalem, the feast of dedication, and it was what? Winter. So Yahushua kept the feast of dedication and acknowledged it. All of our people should be doing the same thing. And this was the season, winter. If your feast of dedication is in the fall, you're off. If your feast of dedication is in the spring, you're off. If your feast of dedication is coming up in the summer, you're off. It's not the season. The season is winter. Thus saith the Lord. See, that the days of the dedication of the altar should be kept in their season from year to year by the space of 8 days, from the 25th day of the month Caslu, with mirth and gladness. And at that time they builded up the Mount Zion with high walls and strong towers round about, lest the Gentiles should come and tread it down as they had done before. And they set there a garrison to keep it, and fortified Besurah to preserve it, that the people might have a defense against Idumea. Who was the main opposition? Idumea, the Edomites. Need to check the time. Okay. Let me double back over here. So our main opposition were these people right here, man. Idumea is Greek for Edom, or the Edomites, the white people, man. These are the ones who was coming up against us, trying to defame us, trying to destroy our temple, trying to take away our traditions, right? Now, need some history, need a little fact checking. Oh, that's all bogus, man. That didn't happen. That ain't real. What? No. Scriptures say the earth is going to help the woman, meaning archaeology. Earthly findings will help substantiate the word of the Lord. One of the great archaeological riddles in the history of Jerusalem is solved. A 2,000-year-old fortress unearthed in Jerusalem after a century-long search. A crowd fortification built by Hanukkah villain Antiochus IV Epiphanes maintained Seleucid Greek control over the temple until its conquest by the Hasmoneans in 141 BCE. So we're seeing the fortified building built during the time of Hanukkah against Antiochus during the time of the Maccabees. They've unearthed the archaeological findings of the buildings and the towers and the walls So this is all being shown as proof that this time existed. Our people fought, died, lived, dedicated during this time. Look at this 2200-year-old coin hoard gives hard proof of the Book of Maccabees, say archaeologists. So they've been finding coins, archaeology, acknowledging and seeing that this time frame, this history was real, and it went down according to archaeologists and historians. So this is all proof positive. Again, this gives us more credence and more reality and more truth than Santa Claus, Miss Claus, reindeers, Rudolph, snowmen, carrot noses, and whatever else is going on. Stockings and ugly sweaters and come on, man. Our people got to grow up and get into the truth instead of living these lies. So let's move on. Let's look at a little bit another portion of how are we looking at uh, portions of our people being put in positions to where Hellenization exists even to this day. You know, the book of Hosea 4, verse 6 says, my people are destroyed for lack of knowledge. And this is what America wants our people to do is to pledge and be a part of the system, just like the Greeks did. They were desirous to have people go up and sacrifice the swine's flesh and, give the tributes and be a part of the gymnasiums and the names and the customs of the Greeks. They embraced it. And they had our own people around there promoting and pushing. Same thing we see going on right now, right? Assimilation is a must. You see our people down there, man. Immigrants are workers, not terrorists. They're all worried about being deported. You see what happened during the plague time. You gotta fall in line. Everybody had to download the vax passes and passports, and we got to make sure that we're safe and we're masking up and rolling up sleeves, and look at our people down there. They're begging to be a part of America, waving the flags. They want to be Hellenized. They want to be a part of the systems and the customs of America and the ruling power, elite. You see it all playing out? Young boys with flags at the Albuquerque Indian School, 1895. They were being assimilated. They were being trained up, giving off their ways and their laws, being Hellenized back then. This is a systematic way of how they were turning out our people and making them turn into quote unquote Americans. Same way they was doing back then with the Greeks. You had the missionary schools. They were forbidden to speak their language, separated from their families, and they had to give up meaningful native names for English ones. Well, what did Antiochus say? He said everybody's got to give up off of their laws and their religious customs and all of that. We need to be one people. We need to be speaking the same. You forget all of that. Speaking Choctaw, speaking Arawak and all. No, we're not doing that. You're going to speak English now. Everybody's going to leave their laws. You're going to consent to the religion of America. Forget it. Forget talking about the earth and the mother earth. They ain't talking about none of that, man. Cut your hair. Everything falls in line. And look at Ward Churchill. Kill the Indian in him and save the man. See that? Kill the Indian in him, meaning destroy his spirit. Job said, if I had not known my soul, I would despise my life in Job 9:21. They said, man, if you can kill the spirit, kill all and any attachments that they have to the roots of their culture. Oh, and you can save the man. Now you create a whole new man that's going to be framed and built after the traditions of your oppressors. Look at this. The modern day Greeks. You know these Negroes, man, is running around here pledging the Greek fraternities, bearing Greek symbols on their shirts, throwing up their own little gang signs and their hand signals of the occult. Alpha, Kappa, Omega. What's the sororities? I don't even know the damn sororities. But this is what they answer, man. The Zetas and the Betas. It's a damn shame, but this is modern Hellenization. You see it right in front of you playing out. What's the difference between the two? The Negroes on the blue, look, I'm saying the blue. They both the same thing. One of these guys over here said, no, we're the good Hellenization because we went to school. We got educated. We're in debt with student loans. We've got a brotherhood. These guys over here saying we learn from the streets. We're on the streets. This is our school of hard knocks. Both of them still throwing up gang signs. Both of them still wearing blue. You see the mind games that they got our people playing? But these guys are safe. They're safe with their gang and their damn allegiances to Hellenism because they went through the system. I went to school for 4 or 5 years. I got my loans. I pledged. I got paddled. I got embarrassed. I went through hazing. I did it all to say that I'm part of this brotherhood. What do these guys say? Oh, I went through my hazing. I got jumped in. I got beat up by 3-4 guys. I had to go out on a mission. I've been back and forth to jail. I'm paying my dues. I got a new name. And like they changing their names and nicknames. I mean, what's the difference, man? Both are cultivated by the system and encouraged. Whether you're on this side, which is promoted through criminality and everything else, or this side that's promoted through brainwashing and institutionalized learning, they both come out the same. And you can say, well, no, my brother pledged Kappa, and he's a successful businessman. Yeah, but does he know who he is? Did he get branded with that damn tattoo on his arm? Does he have an elitist attitude over his other brothers? Do you think he's going to give him the same love that he would give one of them? No. He's not in my frat. They have their own little competitions with each other, stepping and stomping and cane dancing and barking at each other. I mean, it just doesn't. Sometimes it gets violent, sometimes it don't. But this is what they're into, man. This is modern day Hellenization. Look at Latinos for Trump. That was going on during this past election. They all got turned out. His first go around, they was like, oh hell no, he's trying to deport us and blah blah blah. We don't like Trump. Now it's no, he's a good guy. He's gonna get us money. Matter of fact, there is too many damn Hispanics, man. Send them back. They ain't gonna take my job. They ain't gonna take my house. So I'm get rid of them. Far gone from the spirit that we see our Aztec brothers to the right fighting out the Spaniards, man, trying to preserve their kingdom before they get put to death and slaughtered and the women raped and the kids put into bondage in captivity, man. Fighting spirit is gone, man. The damn Latino, our Northern Kingdom brothers, man, said to hell with it, man. We trying to assimilate. We want in. We're voting for Agent Orange, man. We want to be Hellenized. We love to be heathens. Then we get propagandized with stuff like this, man. American Me and the Mexican Mafia. This guy to the right, man, they called him Peg Leg Joe. He said he didn't like that name, but this guy was one of the top officers in La MA, as they call it, and he's an Edomite. Edomite, man, running one of the most powerful organizations in prison gangs in America. Unbelievable. There's a social security card status. You got to take part in the unclean foods, man. This is all part of the retraining, re-education, the Hellenization, man. This is what we broke free from when you came into the truth, man. When you start keeping the laws and the commandments, we broke free from all of this, man. We're coming back to embracing our true nature. This is why when you see in Ephesians, the second chapter, where it says there was one cat man that left a comment on the video Al-Adad did about the Gentiles of the New Testament, who was Paul talking to, and some cat left a comment saying, "Who the Israelites ever called Gentiles? They never called Gentiles in the first." It's like, man, have you ever read 1 Corinthians 12:2, Ephesians chapter 2 and 12? Look at this. that at that time ye were without Christ, being aliens from the commonwealth of Israel, and strangers of the covenants of promise, having no hope and without, no, Shalaki, I'm on verse 11. Then we'll read down. It says, wherefore remember that ye being in time past Gentiles. Hello? What are you, where's, unfortunately, we didn't address this comment at the time, but it's okay. But this is why Paul is acknowledging. He said, remember in the time past, and remember back in the day when you was living like Gentiles? Wherefore remember that ye being in time past Gentiles in the flesh, not in the spirit, but in the flesh, we was acting out, we was carrying out these heathenistic ways. We committed ourselves to it. We stopped circumcising our kids. We read that earlier. Broken off from the covenant, start keeping the folly days. Remember, sacrificing swine's flesh, idolatry, worshiping Zeus, all that stuff. Our fleshly tendencies were going after Gentile ways. It says, who are called uncircumcision by that which is called the circumcision. So that was the name. The circumcision were those who were raised and continued in the ways and the traditions of the law, statutes, and commandments, temple worship, temple sacrifice, so forth and so on. The ones who kind of stayed on the path were the circumcision. The ones who were off, that they still knew, bloodline, seed line, that's still my people. But guess what? That's the uncircumcised. Those are the nasty ones. Those are the ones who are off. Those are the ones who fell out the, heathenistic customs, man. We don't even acknowledge them no more. That's our uncircumcision. They're over there with the heathen. We don't deal with it. That was the dynamic that was happening during the time of Paul and the apostles. It says, who are called uncircumcision by that which is the circumcision in the flesh made by hand. So what were the uncircumcision called? Gentiles. Where did the whole law of circumcision come from? Who was it established for? The children of Israel. So this being a disrespectful term to an Israelite would be calling him uncircumcised. Remember when David was went to fight Goliath, and David popped out and said, man, who's this uncircumcised Philistine? Like, that was a diss. Anybody we called uncircumcised, man, we was looking at you like a heathen, and you was somebody that was off. But that same term was equated with a Gentile. So an uncircumcised Israelite would be called and looked at as a Gentile as well. Okay. Verse 12, it says that at that time ye were without Christ, being aliens from the commonwealth of Israel and strangers from the covenants of the promise, having no hope and without the Most High in the world. But now in Hamashiach Yahushai, ye who sometimes were far off are made nigh by the blood of Hamashiach. See, remember, that term you say, man, you going off. Yeah. Our people who were in time past Gentiles, who were being called uncircumcision, they were made aliens from the commonwealth of Israel, strangers now from the covenants, man, had to come back. They were far off. Now they were being brought back in. This is what we're doing now, breaking these chains, right? See, no more holy days, but holidays. This is what our people are looking at. This is the calendar that our people look at now. What days I need off? What days am I getting off? Not looking at the holy calendar. You ain't looking for your Sabbath. You ain't looking for Passover. You're not looking for memorial assignment. You're not looking for Feast of First Fruits, Tabernacles, Day of Atonement, dedication. You're not looking for tabernacles. You're looking for Independence Day, Columbus Day, Veterans Day, Thanksgiving, President's Day, Martin Luther King. Everything but Christmas. That's where our people growing up from, right? Even when it comes down to enlisting into these armies in war and fighting for the heathen, man, a lot of our people went in and enlisted and was riding with the Greeks and, got Hellenized and was in battle. And some of our people was in here fighting for the Romans, but that's how it was. Black Patriots and Loyalists. This is a book called by Alan Gilbert, right? But this is a whole nother dichotomy, man. I need y'all to look this up for time's sake. I'm not going to read all this, but in 1917, there had what was known as the Houston riots, by the Camp Logan Mutiny. These were dedicated so-called, 156 Buffalo soldiers that got stationed in Houston. They thought that because we're fighting for America, we should be treated equal. Now, mind you, this is 1917. This is during the time of racism, segregation, the whole nine. But they felt as though we're fighting for America. We're on the right hand side of the flag. We should be treated equal. So they're, they're moving through Houston like we're equals. Meanwhile, the black folks that's living there, they like, oh, these guys out here being bold. Like, no, nigga, we still are being oppressed here. And the white folks had to make sure that they understood that too. So they was tripping like, man, this ain't right. We are here fighting for America, and we're still getting oppressed like this. But they, assimilated for what they needed to do. There's a particular incident where the cops was harassing a sister. Uh, one of the lieutenants or whatnot, I believe his rank was lieutenant. He stepped in, became a whole melee, man. They went and tried to shoot at the Jake. They arrested him. The word got out that they said that he got killed. Um, there was a white mob came up. They went to address these quote unquote uppity blacks. You know what I'm saying? And the brothers in the battalion, man, they went to war. And this is the one thing they said, man. I'm gonna read this little piece right here. It says the episode has the ignominious distinction of being the only race riot in the U.S. history where more whites than blacks were killed, and it also resulted in the largest murder trial and the largest court martial in U.S. history. So of all these race riots, man, this is the one that Jake's got down and took out more Edomites than vice versa. But they all ended up paying for it. They got hung. Um, and got ultimately destroyed. But this goes to show you, man, that you think you're fighting for freedom and peace and for the flag and all that other stuff, man. But at the end all be all, man, our people are still niggas. You still ain't getting respected. And this particular riot gives insight into that. But look into that too in your own time. 1917 Houston riots. But one thing, flashing back to and listening and being all you can be, this is also something that just came up too, just this year. June 14, 2024, the House of Representatives passed H.R. 8070, the National Defense Authorization Act for 2025. A version of the bill gets passed every year because every year the U.S. military needs a budget and Congress has the right to check. But in this proposed version of the bill, one particular item stood out to a lot of people online. The bill would automatically register all males between the ages of 18 and 26 in the Selective Service Program, or in more common terms, the draft. So did you hear that? This is part of the automatic Hellenization that's going on, man. They automatically, if they signed a bill starting in 2025, all males ages 18 to 26 are automatically being registered. And you say, well, how is that? When you get your license renewed, they're tracking it in multiple ways. You register for school, jobs, all this other stuff, man. They automatically are sending your information in, and they're enlisting you into the draft, right? Enlisting you into selective service automatically. See that? The U.S. House of Representatives passes the bill automatically registering men ages 18 to 26 for selective service, 217 to 199. Foreigners will be excluded from this obligation. Isn't that special? Just as we're on the heels of World War III and everything else going on, $800+ billion spending budget to prepare for World War III. Just so happens in 2025, they automatically are registering men 18 to 26 for the service. Remember, come on now, Harris, she wanted the women also to be part of this. They got the Transformers in there. They trying to get everybody lined up, man, so they can get ready for this war. And that's all part of the program, man. So hopefully, man, that gave everybody some insight into our not the high holy day, but into our holy day of the Feast of Dedication. You got some history. You got some background regarding what's going on with the scriptural aspects of the Feast of Dedication. You're seeing the balances up. How are we still being Hellenized today in American culture and the beast system, right? These are all chains that we got to break. These are all things that we have to assimilate within ourselves. Remember, we also, let me get that also. I quoted it earlier, but I do want to just pull it up real quick. Um, we also are the temple, and this is where we have to offer ourselves. We don't have a temple anymore, but we have to continually dedicate ourselves, right? First Corinthians 3:16, know ye not that ye are the temple of the Most High, and that the Spirit of the Most High dwelleth in you. If any man defile the temple of the Most High, him shall the Most High destroy. We see what our people went through, man, fighting for our temple to not be defiled, and after it had to be rebuilt up. Most High said, man, he'll destroy anybody that defiles the temple, be it by food, be it by, uh, you know, um, spiritual fornication, any aspects of destruction, man. The Lord said, man, judgment will happen. We're the temple now, man. We have to dedicate ourselves to the Lord. For the temple of the Most High is holy, which temple ye are. See? And we have to continually sacrifice ourselves for him. That's part of the deal. Romans 12:1. I beseech you, therefore, brethren, by the mercies of the Most High, that ye present your bodies a living sacrifice, holy, acceptable unto the Most High, which is your reasonable service. And be not conformed to this world, but be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind, that ye may prove what is that good and acceptable and perfect will of the Most High. And that's what it is, man. So we're dedicating ourselves to the Most High. If you're slipping, you're falling off, you're just coming into the truth, you're rededicating yourself to the Most High, backed by sacrificing yourselves, giving yourselves over to the Most High wholeheartedly, full-fledged, 10 toes down, remembering in the spirit of our ancestors, the Maccabees, man, the blood, sweat, and tears, the women, the children that died for us to be able to keep this book, our traditions and laws and ways, man. We have to keep it intact. You understand what I'm saying? So it's a time of feasting and mirth and gladness and remembrance. At the same time, it's a time of self-reflection, uh, introspective looking at how well are we doing at maintaining ourselves and staying dedicated to this truth. All right. So with that, I'm gonna go ahead and close out, man. I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to the Most High, Yahweh Shai. Prayerfully, man, y'all enjoy your feast of dedication all 8 days, man. We're gonna try and turn up and do what we do. It's gonna be difficult, man. I tell you what, man. We be dragging come in that 8th day, man. It's almost like just crossing the finish line. But all praise, honor, and glory to the Most High for even allowing us to have the opportunity to do so, man. We pray that you guys enjoy yours day one on deck. All praises. All right. Y'all be well. Shalom.